bring in Jack Scarola. He's an attorney who's represented nearly 20 Epstein victims and spent 18 years litigating cases against Epstein. So, Jack, Epstein survivor Lisa Phillips today said if all of the information related to Epstein's case is not released, then the survivors are going to come together and they're going to create their own list of abusers. One question that I think a lot of people are wondering is, why aren't they just releasing the names now? Why don't they just go up at that press conference and give the names of the people that trafficked or raped them? I know the answer, but why don't you explain it?
That question was asked at the press conference, and the answer that was given is a very reasonable response. They are concerned about retaliation. They have been ignored. They have been lied to. They have been accused today of being participants in a political hoax. And so they are going to take steps very carefully moving forward and recognize the fact that the names of those to whom they were trafficked is an important issue, but it is not nearly as important as the assault against the civil justice system and the criminal justice system that has been taking place over the course of the last 2 decades. That's where the real story lies, and those are the real answers that need to be sought. And that's a major portion of what the victims were attempting to achieve during the press conference today.
So let's talk about that, what you refer to as the assault on the criminal justice system. Obviously, we know that Jeffrey Epstein, despite multiple accusers, got a sweetheart plea deal in 2007, 2008 from then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta that allowed him basically to have work release from prison for a very short amount of time and a non-prosecution agreement. What else are you talking about in terms of the assault on the justice system?
We're talking about why the victims' rights to have been informed about every step in the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein, why those rights were not only ignored, but why they were actively deprived of those rights. Why Alex Acosta committed in writing to Epstein's defense team that the rights afforded to victims by federal law would be evaded and that they would not be informed of that plea deal. That is terrible abuse.
This is what President Trump said today, minutes after the survivors spoke out and pleaded with him to not call this a hoax. Take a listen.
It's a Democrat hoax that never ends. I understand we've given thousands of pages of files, and I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having.
So you have represented nearly 20 Epstein victims. What was your reaction when you heard that earlier?
I was very, very upset, because I know how my clients and the hundreds of others of Epstein Maxwell victims react to being told that they are part of a political hoax. It's unimaginable that anyone could have made that accusation in light of all of the evidence that has been gathered about the reality of what went on. The hoax here has nothing to do with the facts of the Epstein case. The hoax is the prolonged cover-up of those facts. The hoax is sending someone in, dangling a pardon in front of Ghislaine Maxwell and providing her with an international platform to revise history and talk about what a wonderful gentleman Donald Trump was every time she had any contact with him. That's where the hoax lies. The hoax lies in not fulfilling the promise of transparency.
Jack Scarola, thank you so much. Appreciate it.